What if the elevator you take every day didn't stop where it should? What if it opened to a floor no one believes exists? A floor that knows who you are and what's coming next. This isn't just a story about a malfunctioning machine. It's a journey into a place that defies logic. A place that exists just beyond the reach of our normal world. Imagine stepping into that familiar metal box, the one you use without a second thought. The doors close, the soft music starts, and the lights flicker for just a moment. But this time, something is different. The digital display, usually showing the predictable sequence of numbers, flashes a code you've never seen before. 13B. A floor that doesn't exist on any blueprint. What would you do? Would you dismiss it as a glitch? Or would your curiosity get the better of you? It was almost midnight when Daniel, a night shift worker, found himself in that exact situation. Exhausted after a long day, he pressed the button for the ground floor, his mind already on the journey home. The elevator hummed strangely as it began its descent. A low, resonant thrum that seemed to vibrate through the soles of his shoes. Then, he noticed it. A faint, eerie glow from a button he'd never seen before, labeled simply, -1. In this building, the lowest level was the parking garage. Gee, there was no basement, no sublevel. Yet, there it was. His rational mind told him to ignore it, that it was probably just a burnt-out light or a manufacturing defect. But a strange pull, a mix of fatigue and an inexplicable curiosity, made his hand move a pressed Italiano. The elevator didn't just go down. It plunged. It felt as if it was sinking far deeper than the building's foundation should allow. The familiar floors zipped by G. 1, 2, 3, but then it kept going into an abyss of concrete and darkness. The descent felt impossibly long, the soft hum turning into a low groan. Finally, with a sudden, echoing metallic clang, it stopped. The doors didn't slide open with their usual smooth efficiency. They hesitated, then shuddered apart, revealing not a basement. It wasn't a storage room or a parking garage. Before him stretched an endless office space. The lights buzzed with an unsettling, low frequency, casting long, dancing shadows. Desks were scattered across the vast expanse, chairs pushed back, papers strewn about as if people had just stepped away from their work only minutes earlier. The air was cold, still, and heavy with an unnerving silence. Daniel, his heart pounding against his ribs, cautiously stepped out. The silence was the most disturbing part. An office this size should be filled with the ambient noise of life keyboards clacking, phones ringing, distant chatter. But here, there was nothing. The only sound was the incessant, low buzz of the overhead fluorescent lights. As he walked deeper into the labyrinth of cubicles, he noticed something odd. Clocks hung on the walls, but their hands were missing. They were frozen, useless monuments to a time that didn't seem to exist here. He ran his hand over a dusty desk, the chill of the surface seeping into his skin. On one desk, a single manila file lay perfectly centered, catching his eye. It seemed out of place, deliberate. It piqued up a sense of dread washing over him as he read the name neatly typed on the cover. It was his. Daniel, with trembling hands, he opened the file. Inside were not performance reviews or company memos. They were pages filled with terrifyingly specific details about his own life, but not his past. His future. It described an accident, a car crash that hadn't happened yet. The date, the time, the intersection, it was all there. It even included snippets of conversations he was supposedly going to have in the moments leading up to the event. He slammed the file shut, his breathing becoming ragged. They spun around, feeling watched. He saw them then shadows, moving across the far walls, stretching and contorting in ways that defied the laws of physics. They darted and danced with no people around to cast them. Daniel isn't the only one. Over the years, whispers and hushed stories have circulated among late-night workers and security guards. Others claim to have reached this impossible floor. Their accounts are chillingly similar. They find documents detailing their deepest, most private secrets. They hear disembodied whispers that seem to know their greatest fears, and they see those same clocks, frozen without time. This floor didn't just exist as a physical space. It was intelligent. It was aware. It knew the people who visited it, intimately. It felt like a trap, a place that drew you in, only to confront you with the parts of yourself you try to keep buried. So, what is this place? The official story is simple. It doesn't exist. The building's original blueprints have been examined countless times. They show a standard foundation, a ground floor, and the levels above. There is no sub-level, no floor -1, number 13B. Structural engineers who have inspected the elevator shafts insist it's a physical impossibility. There's nowhere for the elevator to go, but the stories persist. Paranormal investigators have a different theory. Call it a liminal space, a threshold between realities, a pocket dimension that momentarily bleeds into our own, a place that isn't here or there, but somewhere in between. They suggest the elevator doesn't travel down, but sideways, through the fabric of space-time itself. The local legends, however, offer a simpler, more terrifying explanation. They say the building itself is just a structure of steel and glass, but the elevator is different. It's alive. It chooses who gets to see the truth, who is granted a terrifying glimpse behind the curtain of reality, and the experience isn't the same for everyone. For some, it's a one-time glitch, a story to be dismissed as a dream or a hallucination brought on by exhaustion. But for others, it becomes deeply personal. There are hushed accounts of the phenomenon evolving. The elevator's digital display no longer shows a floor number. Instead, it begins to flicker, the red digits rearranging themselves until they spell out a name, your name, glowing ominously on the panel. According to the legend, those who see their name are the ones the floor truly wants. They are the ones who never return quite the same. If they manage to return at all, imagine being alone in that metal box and seeing your own name light up, an invitation to a place you know you shouldn't go. Do you ride it out, or do you frantically press the emergency stop button, praying it still works? Daniel left the building that night, shaken, clutching the file in his hands. He tried to tell his co-workers, his friends, but they dismissed it as a nightmare, a trick of a tired mind. But he couldn't forget. Weeks later, the nagging fear in the back of his mind became a horrifying reality. The accident he had read about in that file happened exactly as it was written. The date, the time, the screech of tires, the panicked conversation in the car moments before impact. He survived, but the experience changed him forever. Now, every time he steps into an elevator, any elevator, he keeps his eyes fixed on the floor. He refuses to look at the panel, terrified that one day he might see his name glowing in the dark again. He knows the floor is still there, waiting, and he knows that next time it might not let him leave. So, the next time you're alone in an elevator and the lights flicker, try not to think about it. And whatever you do, don't look for a button that isn't supposed to be there, because you just might find it. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this journey into the unknown, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more mysteries. Stay safe, and always watch where you're going, especially when you're going down.